obviously, right? So let me show you how I convert a photograph of the Eiffel Tower into an HDR, even though all I got is only just a single JPEG that came out of a Casio camera. Now, I used adjust, so that's the same thing I'm going to go into. The easy way of using our software is you just click, and instantly you get results. And these are all presets. So if I click on the different presets, of course, different kind of results. Or for the really courageous, you can start playing around with the sliders. And as I do, not only did the Eiffel Tower become bright, all these little details that were in the clouds, they just magically appear out of nowhere. So it used to look like a silhouette, whereas now it looks like an HDR photo, but it's not HDR. It's just a single JPEG. Now the same thing applies if you got obviously a nice camera, like RAW, because we obviously process RAW as well. So just take one shot, make sure you expose for the brights. The misconception is if you did that, then all this down here is going to be garbage. And in reality, it's noise. So we spent the last 20 years showing scientists noise is data. In fact, we revolutionized signal processing. Notice how I don't call it image processing, because images are just signals. So I'll show you the other one of my favorite problems. I call this the CSI problem, named after a famous television. Did you watch CSI? You know, every time I watch CSI, man, there's some computer geek that zooms into 5 pixels and he always says enhance. And you hear the sound effect, it goes meow, and you can read the license plate. Now, see, I gotta convert the science fiction into the science fact. And that's why we invented, oh, it's not coming up, oh, there it goes. That's why we invented Topaz in focus. Now, we already know that if you just zoom in, it's not gonna help you read what the license plate says. On the right side, we give you a couple choices. Is it out of focus? Is it motion? Or I don't know. It's the only software with an I don't know button. So I choose I don't know. That's blurry enough, I crank it up halfway and click estimate blur. I'm now praying, pressing my fingers for a miracle as I look at that. PJ2DX. If you look at the original photograph, I can barely make out the letter P right there. Now also, if you zoom out, it does even a better job. In the original photograph, I can't really see what our bad guy looks like, whereas now we realize the bad guy wears glasses. Hence the CSI analogy. Now this is actually pretty blurry. I hope your photos that are not that blurry, you can see instantly how to fix it. But let me show you another typical problem of blur in your photographs. Here's another classic kind of a problem. In the viewfinder of the camera, this photo looked perfect. But when I load it into the computer, uh-oh. Gonna have to delete that one. Please don't delete it. What I really want you to do is pull down to Topaz in focus. Now you remember what I did the last time, right? All I did was first I selected unknown, which means that I didn't know how it got blurry. I just wanted it to be about level 2. I click estimate blur. So the computer first figures out how it got blurry, and then it just fixes it. Which means in the original photograph, her earrings, her eyes, her teeth are all blurry. Now they have been corrected. And if I was to look at the little girl, same thing. In the original photograph, I could see how blurry hair, blurry eyes, and now each individual hair strand becomes visible and her eyes are absolutely perfect. Which now leads me to the last miracle of our demo. And this is one of these problems that wasted so much of your life that we just have to give you a solution. The problem is called masking. I like the dog, I don't like the background. I got 4 seconds to perfectly cut it out of the background so the dog can be amongst the flowers. So here's how we do it. Here's what 4 seconds looks like. When you pull down the Topaz Remax, wait for the interface to pop open. That's the first demo of the day. The interface takes a while. There we go. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, if this is truly done would mean that that's the mask, that's the cutout. You click OK, and when you zoom in, every little detail of hair and all the other details have been perfectly considered for a perfect mask. I know 4 seconds might be a little slow, but still working. Now the thing with the dog is, it's actually not a trivial example. If you look at the original photo, you'll notice that there's areas where it's orange against orange. As you go around the perimeter, obviously the color constantly changes around the perimeter. And finally on the other side, you'll even notice that it's blur against blur. But it does an amazing job of figuring all that out. Now since I like challenges, let me finish it up here with something that's even more difficult. But before I do, some people don't know what masking means or why would it be useful. Here's a good example. I like the cowboy, I like the horse, just don't like the background. That's why I wanted to make it more Hollywood. Yeah, it's fake photography at its best. Easy, take about 3 minutes, cut out the cowboy and horse, drop the beautiful sunset in the background, you're all set. Call it a day. Then, let's see if I got another good example. I also photographed my hand, and the reason why I did that was I also had a photograph of the Staples Center. When you put the Staples Center through our lens effect, it makes the background and the foreground go out of focus. So it looks like it's a miniature. That's why I stuck my hand in there. Too much fun. You know, one of my customers got inspired, so he took this photograph and then he stuck his hand in there too. You know? So let me go back and do one more mask for you, so we can finish it up with that. So we'll do our lovely blonde. That I call my Photoshop nightmare. And you can see that obviously her frizzy hair makes her a Photoshop nightmare. Now this time I'm going to do it in 5 seconds, and I'll make it a little longer so I can explain exactly what's going on. You're pulling down the Topaz remask. It always starts with a thick blue brush. Now you notice how I make it really, really thick, mainly because I don't want to be very accurate. All I got is about 5 seconds to quickly go around the edges and do a quick outline. Now red tells the computer what you don't want, and instantly you got yourself a mess. Now we're not quite done yet, because as I zoom in, I can see that unfortunately, in an attempt to capture all the details, the computer also got a lot of colors in the background. Well, the solution to that is a little artificial intelligence that we call foreground color detector. When you turn it on, the computer analyzes all of the semi-transparent areas. It could be smoke, glass, hair, a wedding veil. It's trying to figure out what the real color of the hair is, in this case, without the background. Ta-da! We click OK. Now remember how difficult this was. This is where we started. It took 5 seconds for us to do that quick outline, about maybe 7 or 8 seconds for the computer to figure it out, and now when you zoom in, every little detail is perfectly considered, and you just made yourself a perfect picture. So ladies and gentlemen, just the remask alone, actually in this case, gentlemen, is worth the price of admission. You know, we're not even talking about the other 10 revolutionary technologies that are included in that price as well. So here's a little quick recap of what I just showed you. And when we started out with Adjust, we had a JPEG that was practically black. We showed you conquered the noise, you fully exposed it. Then I showed you a license plate that nobody could read that becomes legible because of the amazing in focus. Now finally at the end, actually I showed you denoise. It's the undisputed world leader. By the way, we showed the world that it's not about removing the noise. It's actually about repairing what the noise had destroyed. We're the only ones in the world that figured that out. And finally, we showed you the magic of remask, where it took 4 seconds to cut the dog out of the background, and a palm tree that used to take over an hour, now I can do for you in like less than 40 seconds.